He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the Coast View. We're celebrating coastal Mississippi and especially the people who are making this a better place to live, work, and play. Good morning, Kyle.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Super Bowl was a good one yesterday.
I told you.
Your Chiefs won. I was for the 49ers. Sad.
More importantly, I won $50 on that fourth quarter.
Patrick Mahomes was unstoppable late in that game, man, so he deserved it. What an amazing player.
He's going to Disney World.
Yeah, he's going to Disney World. This morning is a special day. We're going to be celebrating a man who's made a substantial contribution to coastal Mississippi in a segment that I call Legends of the Coast. These are people who are no longer with us but left an incredible legacy. They changed life here in coastal Mississippi. He's about to get inducted into the Ole Miss School of Law Hall of Fame. And his name is Boyce Holloman. Boyce Holloman was a war hero. He was a legislator. He was a longtime district attorney who fought corruption and the Dixie Mafia. He actually survived an assassination attempt. He was the Harrison County Supervisor's attorney for many, many years, and also the school board as well. A very accomplished lawyer in his private practice. He was an actor. He was a nationally ranked bridge player. And his storytelling capabilities were incredible, helped by his southern charm and his brilliant memory. And he was a good man. Judge Gaston Hughes, a friend of mine, said of him that he once gave him a plaque that had a door handle affixed on it. And on the door handle were inscribed the words, "Thank you for opening so many doors for so many people." He said he went on to judge people not by the money they made. It's a short period of time, Dean and Tim. We got a lot to talk about in this time, but I'm so happy to have Dean Holloman and Tim Holloman here, Boyce's sons. Good morning, guys.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you for asking us.
Thank you. So you both follow the same kind of trail. You went to Gulfport East, raised in Gulfport, went to Ole Miss Law School, came out into private practice.
That's right.
So tell me about your practice these days.
Oh, we are a family practice. We pretty much take anything that anybody needs help on. That's basically what we're here for.
And Dean, your son Hollis is now part of the firm.
Hollis has now been with us. He graduated May of 18, so he is with us. And
that's exciting.
I think Tim enjoys him as much or more than I do. Tim steals him all the time.
He might have known my son Jordan was in Ole Miss Law School,
yes.
And now practicing down here on the coast. So Boyce was born in Fruitland Park. Where is that?
Just north of Wiggins.
Just north, and he loved Stone County for the rest of his life, didn't he?
Absolutely.
He went to Perk just for a short period of time initially. Tell me about that.
Right, he went to Perk. Of course, he went with a lot of people that were here from the coast. Claire Hornsby, a lot of friends there. And
Dr. Frank Gurich from Biloxi.
From Biloxi. Yeah. So then he moved on to Ole Miss.
He went for 1 year, and because of the war, right? I mean,
right.
He wanted to get to Ole Miss. What did he find when he got there?
Well, he found a university that didn't have very many people in it. I think we're down to about 900 at that time.
My goodness. And that was, so he, in July of 1942, he wasn't sure if he wanted to join the Navy or the Army. How did he decide?
Well, the story he tells is that they offered him a Coke at the Navy, and were very nice to him, and the Army was a little gruff. And plus, he liked the white uniform.
He did. That's what he said in one of his videos for sure. He trained where to be a pilot?
He started out in Memphis actually, and then eventually moved to Pensacola.
And he picked torpedo bomber. How did he decide that?
He wrote a letter to his mother, which I have, and he basically said that he picked torpedo bombers because he thought that's where he could do the most damage to the Japanese.
Wow.
That's a quote.
Wow. So here we are. It's D-Day. He had a role supporting Marines. Tell him what that role was on D-Day.
Obviously, they had planned on taking. He went to Saipan, and they were planning on taking Saipan in I think 4 days, and ended up taking 7 or 10. I forgot how many, but they dropped smoke bombs and things like that to obscure the Japanese so they couldn't see the Marines taking the beach. A lot of people from the coast were on that beach. That some of them made it, and most of them made it. Some didn't.
Yeah, it was when he talks about that on his video. It's kind of, you can tell even in his later years he thought a lot about those men that he watched coming off on that beach that day. So D-Day 1 passed, D-Day 2 comes, and Dean, what did he do?
Well, I know that one of the Marines on those beaches was Joe Irby Sr.
Right.
And they were still on the beach where they should be inland by then. And he, Dad, in fact, assigned himself to his bombing mission on that day. Still have his flight book where he signed it, wrote it down, and of course, it was a fateful day that he was shot down.
And what was so interesting is that he was supposed to assign someone from his group to go, and they moaned, and he said, I'm going to sign my own name.
Right.
It was a fateful day, wasn't it?
He said he didn't want to send somebody else.
So we're going to play a segment where he describes that particular bombing mission. Kyle, can you cue that up for me?
I came around and made a what we call a glide bombing run on it. And I didn't like my dive. I got too steep. So I pulled up and I called the observer and said, I'm going to make another run at it. No fire at all. So I made another round. What we call a glide bombing. I made the dive. And just as I leaned over, just about the time I dive, I got punched too steep. So I pulled up and I dropped the bomb. A shot came right through the right part of the cockpit. I released the bombs about at the same time, and there was a hole about right here, which just hit me right in the face when it came through. And the cockpit was on fire, and I was on a pretty steep dive at the time. So of course, my first inclination was to do what we were taught to do, was to get up and bail out, because she was on fire pretty good. So I started up over the side, and then I happened to think that, I was right on top of the Japs, and they were killing everybody that landed in there. So I just decided, well, I'm going to take about half this town with me. And so I reached out and got the stick. I was, by this time, pretty blind. And I began some way just, I didn't even have my seatbelt on. I began to, it just wasn't my time when you hear this story, and it probably is. But anyway, as I got a hold of the stick, that's the reason this hand was burned so bad, because I had that stick and it was right over the fire. And I began to just sort of, felt like I was getting it straight, and all of a sudden I felt like the water was getting close, and I just leveled it like I was on a landing, put my hand up like this, and it went and the bomb bay doors opened, and it just acted like a hydraulic piston. It just stopped it, didn't even move me out of my seat. You'd think it'd throw you 100 yards out there landing on the water. You can't hardly make a landing on the water with one of them full. But anyway, then there were old ships, sunken ships all around that had been sunk by the Navy. And there was a little bitty island there called Maniagasa Island. They call it Managasa, I think, out there, which was just a small island in the harbor there. And it had a whole company of Japs on it. I must have been about 200 yards from that island, in my best judgment, but the plane hit. So I jumped out when it landed. You want me to tell this? Oh, okay. Well, I jumped out when it landed, when the water, I got on the wing of the plane. The life raft on that plane was kept right behind the cockpit. It had little bitty things that you turn on it to get it out. That's the way. Well, I didn't have enough. By the time I got that thing turned and got it out, I couldn't use my hands anymore because the flesh was so loose on them, the skin and everything. So to inflate the life raft, I just put it right here and popped it, and the life raft inflated.
It's so amazing hearing his voice and hearing him tell the story. He was a hell of a storyteller, wasn't he?
He was.
20 years old.
My goodness, 20 years old.
20 years old.
So tell me the rest of the story. He
stayed on the wing for, that was about 4:35 in the afternoon. He stayed on the wing of the plane. He first got in the water, and he said it started burning so bad he got back up on the wing of the plane. When he realized the plane was not going to sink, he thought it was going to sink, but it had skidded up on a reef, so it was sitting up high. So he got back up on the wing, and he heard a boat motor coming from this island, and one of his buddies came by and strafed it, and that stopped that. Mm-hmm. And about 4:30 the next morning, he heard the boat motor coming again, and he thought it was the Japanese going to get him until it got close, and he heard the voice say, "Hold on, Captain, we're going to get you." And so then he knew that they were Americans, and they took him off of there, and then I think it took him 3 or 4 months to get back to the States, and then he was at Mare Island for a year and a half while he went through 36 skin operations, where he met my mother.
Yeah.
She was like a candy striper, nurse's assistant.
And you since have been back to the chapel.
Yes. Dad's it looked like a hospital ward when they got married because everybody had limbs missing and burns and all of his friends that came to the wedding. But
wow, what an experience.
It was.
Well, so when he got out, he taught himself to fly again.
Yes.
And what did he do after that?
Well, he eventually, went back to school at Ole Miss. He ran for the legislature and got elected while he was in law school.
But he was a flight instructor.
Yes. He went back to Mare Island. Actually, for about a year, he was a flight instructor.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we capture that.
That's right.
So when we come back, though, we'll shift gears and talk about when he got out. He went back to Ole Miss. But before we exit too far from Saipan, I want to talk about the quick trip that you took there and dove to look for his airplane, and then you're going back in, I think, 2021.
Correct.
I want to talk about that for just a second.
Sure.
So after this break, we're going to continue the conversation with Dean and Tim Holloman as we reflect and look back on their father, Boyce Holloman, who left an incredible legacy here in coastal Mississippi. And it's my pleasure to share this story with you. We'll be back after this break.
Subscribe for free to the Coast View podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Into esports? So is Big Play. Check out Big Play's brand new esports virtual reality attraction with cash prizes paid weekly and monthly. Guaranteed to pay $100,000 this year. Plus 2 massive arcades, bowling go-karts, 2 mini golf courses, 2-story state-of-the-art laser tag arena bumper cars, and right now, get a $50 game card for $25. Visit SuperTalk MS Gulf Coast on Facebook and print on demand. Big Play Entertainment Center. Bowl, play, eat.
Just like money in your pocket, that's Super Fun. When you trade with us, you always get our best. Super deals are why, whether you sell or buy. We cash checks, we pay bills, we make loans like no one will, and help you keep your pockets filled. Just like money in your pocket, that's Super Fun.
Have you made your New Year's resolution yet? Resolve to make 2020 a year to remember with a new lifestyle. At Arbor Properties, you'll discover features, amenities, and services that are only found at an Arbor Properties community. Whether you're looking to actively unwind in one of 5 fully equipped fitness studios, enjoy the free fitness classes, or reserve a spot with a personal trainer, Arbor Properties is the place to conquer your fitness goals. Arbor Properties apartment homes features granite countertops, custom cabinetry, luxury flooring, and upgraded fixtures. Arbor Properties' resolution is to ensure your living experience is nothing less than exceptional. Arbor Properties isn't just a place to live, it's a way of life. Let Arbor Properties help make 2020 your best year yet. Find your new home at Arborview d'Iberville, Arbor Landing on the River in Biloxi, Arbor Place, Biloxi, Arbor Village at Pass Road Gulfport, or Arbor Station in Long Beach. Like Arbor Properties on Facebook.
Tired of burning your hands on your steering wheel? You know how hot Mississippi summers can be. Beat the heat with Solar Control, the Coast exclusive 3M window film dealer since 1975. 3M window film rejects up to 90% of the sun's heat and 99% of damaging UV rays, keeping you cool and comfortable year-round. Solar Control can tint most cars starting at only $180. Visit Solar Control in Ocean Springs on Bechtel Boulevard. Call 872-0805 or visit solarcontrolinc.com.
Since 1950, when you needed help and advice from an experienced attorney, you turned to Boyce Holloman and Associates. Standing on the principles of experience, integrity, and results, Boyce Holloman and Associates can help you and your family with a variety of legal matters. When you come to Boyce Holloman and Associates of Gulfport, every client, every case gets the level of service from attorneys and staff who honor the legacy of Boyce Holloman's tradition of excellence. See Dean and Tim Holloman at Boyce Holloman and Associates, 1720 23rd Avenue, Gulfport.
This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We're having an incredible conversation with Tim and Dean Holloman about their father, Boyce Holloman, who left an unbelievable legacy here in coastal Mississippi. And in the last segment, we had just finished talking about the pain that he went through, 36 skin grafts and all of that after he was shot down at Saipan. But before we move too far away from that, Tim, before your dad died, actually, you had the opportunity to go back to Saipan.
Yes, we went back and went diving for his airplane. That's one of the few times I saw my dad break down and cry was when we arrived there, and he started talking about his two shipmates that were with him on the plane that did not make it. He had not been back since that had happened. And he's still broken up about that.
It really changed his life forever, and he thought about them literally for the rest of his life, didn't it?
Often. We have a picture that hangs in our office of them.
They saved his life.
Right.
When that boat was coming from the island, it was them who came and...
Well, I'm talking about the co-pilot and bombardier in his plane.
On his plane. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Right.
I said shipmates.
Yeah.
They bailed out and have never been found. I still communicate with one of his grandnieces.
Yes.
We're hopeful one day they'll find their remains and bring them back to the United States.
That's a touching story. You're going to go back, though, in 2021.
Look forward to it. They now have found the plane, actually.
So where was it? Was it where you thought it was going to be?
It was probably within 20 or 30 yards of where we looked.
Yeah.
It's just like looking for a needle in a haystack. Eventually, somebody else went and mapped all the wrecks, and they found this plane, which is right where Dad describes he went down. He talked about being 200 yards from Manigaha.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's exactly where this plane is. It's upside down with the wheels up.
Wow, that's incredible. Looking forward to that, Dean?
Yes. Well, I won't be diving. Well, it's not but 8 feet of water, and it's beautiful water. You've seen the pictures.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's like being in a swimming pool.
Yeah, you can snorkel on it. It's not about 8 feet.
That part of Japan now is actually a big vacation spot, right?
For the Japanese.
It's actually an American colony.
Yeah,
Saipan is, but Saipan is to Japan like the Caribbean is to the United States.
Right.
It's a big vacation spot for Japan.
Wow, that's incredible. So he comes back, goes back to Ole Miss. Pick it up from there.
He goes into the legislature first.
So he was one of, I didn't realize this, but there were a lot of guys who were running for the legislature while they were in law school.
While they were in law school.
William Winter.
Yeah.
One of his classmates in legislature. Lots of people.
Yeah. So he's a young man on a mission, and what next?
Well, after he got out of the legislature, he was appointed by Governor Hugh White as district attorney down on the coast to try to clean up the coast. At that time, Keesler was threatening to close its gates because of the corruption that was along the coast at that time. We had gambling at that time along the coast. It just wasn't legal gambling.
Yeah, we've heard that. Bobby Mahoney talked about that. Others have talked about that. And in fact, when I did a little bit of research getting ready for my conversation with Rick Carter and Terry Green, I didn't realize that it wasn't until Camille hit that it truly sort of wiped it out. Now, it sort of resurfaced here and there in a small kind of way, but not really again.
No, not
until we got to the legal days of gaming, the way that we see it today.
That's right.
So your dad was on a mission to deal with corruption.
Yes.
And he dealt with the Dixie Mafia. Are there any particular stories you want to share?
Well, the first time, he was appointed to fill a 2.5-year term. When he ended that term, he ran, and he actually got beat. And, of course, when they started looking at the ballot boxes, it turned out that the ballot boxes had been stuffed. Dead people had voted. People that had not voted. And so they ended up throwing out, they had an election contest, and the election results were thrown out, and he was actually elected as a result of that.
Wow. And what kind of impression that made on him? Made him more determined.
Yeah, Joel Blass, who later was Supreme Court judge, helped him with that election contest. And at first, Dad said, I'm not going to contest it. They don't want me. I'm not going to contest it. And he got a call from somebody in Biloxi whose name will remain nameless because he's still living, and said, boys, y'all can't let them get away with this. And so Joel and Dad called the governor, and the governor came down or sent the highway patrol down and seized all the ballot boxes so they could look at them. And then when they looked at them, the first one they opened had 9 people had signed in. It was all the same handwriting.
My goodness.
And so that started leading to the other things, and eventually they found people that were dead that had voted, and quite frankly, people that had not voted.
Wow, So who was Cowboy Morris?
Cowboy Morris was a gentleman that had committed a murder, I believe, over in Hancock County, and had been locked up, and he eventually escaped. And then somebody hired him to plot to kill him and Gaston Hughes Sr. So they had an assassination attempt. Eventually, Cowboy Morris came in and testified. But he was also very handsome, and so there was a lot of publicity about his his indictment because he was well liked because he was a very handsome fellow apparently.
It was easy for him to convince jurors to.
He had a lot of admirers that that Dad had problems with, but eventually he came in and actually helped prosecute those that had plotted this assassination attempt of Gaston Hughes Sr. See, Dad had no assistants, so he was by himself. Had 6 counties.
No travel budget.
No travel. But the county prosecuting attorneys assisted in the prosecutions then with the felony DAs. Well, Gaston Hughes Sr. was on the coast, and he was the one that helped Dad mostly when they were. Now his son, of course, Gaston Hughes Jr. is a judge also.
Right. So what made him so determined at such a young age to make an impact as it related to corruption?
I think Dad had a great sense of right and wrong, just period, in his life. He was raised by his mother, Ruth, who was a very religious person and had strong feelings of just right and wrong.
That's one of the reasons why he had such a strong connection to Stone County throughout his life, wasn't it, Dean?
Yeah. I think one of the things that always impressed me, and it's very relevant for today's times, is that sure, he had political enemies because, they were all corrupt when he got elected, so he had to go against them. But he had a knack for being friends with his enemies, and he had a way of winning a lot of them over.
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
I know that Biddle Adams, a real famous defense lawyer back at that time, said he'd never seen anybody like Boyce Holloman because Dad was fair, and he could get along with people that disagreed with him, which we need a good lesson of that today. But he was very good about being fair with his enemies, and sometimes it would puzzle you. You'd say, why are you helping him in a legal case when he was against you? But that's the way he was. He
principle.
Yep.
Yeah, he believed in right and wrong, and he also believed in the common person. He was not Dad came from meager means. They were very poor, and so coming up, and my grandfather had lost everything in the Depression, so they didn't have a lot. So Dad was very empathetic to poor people and to the common person. He was not people think that he was some type of rich person. He was not. He was a very common, came from meager means and cared about people, period.
So he had no budget, had really no staff. He was actually became known as the Flying DA.
That's right.
So tell about what happened to his airplane.
Well, I think it was 1965, we had actually gone to our camp in Van Cleve, fishing camp in Van Cleve, and they called and the plane had blown up, and they put 7.6 of dynamite in it. It was rigged to blow up when he either started or got in it. And apparently lightning or thunder hit the hangar in Wiggins and blew it up. I had a piece of it for many, many years.
Wow.
And eventually I lost it when we in one of our moves to somewhere. Dad probably threw it away. I thought it was a good memory. He didn't like it too much.
So the FBI and everyone worked so hard to try to figure out who it was.
Never did figure it out, although Dad had a pretty good idea, but I never heard him mention who it was.
Well, I remember him saying that in one of the interviews he did that some of the old FBI says, we know who did it, but you don't want to know. And so whatever that meant, but I think Dad did have a good idea.
Were there moments in his life after that he felt threatened?
I don't think Dad ever was afraid of being threatened. I remember 4 or 5 times as children, we would have highway patrol show up at the house with shotguns and be down at the end of the driveway, in the driveway. But I never was afraid. I just didn't understand that was something wrong. I mean, it looked like fun to me. But you got to get in the police cars. But Dad never seemed to be afraid. He always, he said, they're going to get you, so you can't walk around being afraid. So he wasn't.
Well, just like when he
used to make me go crank the car in the morning, which I wasn't sure about that now that I've gotten older.
What a great part of the story.
That was after the airplane. Tim, run out and roll up my car for me.
Hey, Dean, did you ever get the pleasure of doing that?
I was too young.
He was too younger. He couldn't crank a car, but
what a great part of the story. My goodness.
He didn't really do that. I would get his coffee with remote control for him.
Well, even when he went down, when he was telling that story, there was a point in the story where he said it just wasn't his time.
That's right.
And he sort of was at peace with the reality of that. If it was his time, he was going to take the town out.
That's right.
If it wasn't his time, maybe there's something more for him to be able to accomplish. But he sort of lived like that, didn't he?
He did. He was larger than life.
I heard him make a speech in November, Veterans Day 2002. And I think I have a recording of it, but I haven't been able to find it. But anyway, and he talked about the theme of his speech was big decisions of life and how it changes life. And,
Wow.
you can look through his life and see major changes like landing the plane and not bailing out and different things. But
So his contributions to the coast for those 19 years as district attorney was he was fair. He was fighting corruption the entire time. He helped the district attorney's office become sort of established it in the modern age, really, so to speak, here on the coast. And even throughout all that, as you pointed out, he still had a sense of the average guy, and he wasn't interested in being enemies with his enemies. He wanted to. He
was.
He had a knack for just reaching out to anyone.
And they accepted that. His enemies would accept that.
It's amazing. So we're talking about Boyce Holloman with Dean and Tim Holloman. Boyce left an incredible legacy here in coastal Mississippi. Talked about his time in World War II in Saipan, getting shot down, and then his time as a district attorney in this last segment. As we go forward, we're going to talk about his life as an attorney and some of the things he did on the side, which made him really a Renaissance man. We'll be back after this break.
From the Singing River Electric and Coast Electric Newsroom, your news now.
An 18-year-old man is in jail for aggravated assault after shooting another man during a fight in Biloxi on Saturday. Cameron Payton is being held at the Harrison County Jail on a $150,000 bond. The victim is in the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Another inmate from a Mississippi prison was found dead in his cell over the weekend. Officers at the Wilkinson County Correctional Facility found 39-year-old Jesus Garcia unresponsive in his cell on Saturday. With no signs of assault, the case and manner of the death are under investigation. Garcia is the 15th inmate from a Mississippi prison to die in custody since the first of the year. Waveland police are investigating a series of vehicle break-ins and urge residents to keep your doors locked and remove any valuables from your vehicle. An unidentified suspect has been spotted on security cameras only taking items from cars that were left unlocked. So far, no arrests have been made. For SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1, I'm Kyle Curley.
Everyone in my family uses electricity differently. But when it comes to our Touchstone Energy Cooperative, we all think about it the same way. The co-op is power. Sure, electricity turns the lights on, but power is the information I get from my co-op about efficiency, safety, technology. And I trust the co-op because we are the co-op.
They're our neighbors.
Our friends. Our home.
Brought to you by Coast Electric and Singing River Electric, your Touchstone Energy Cooperatives.
Hey, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. Quicken Loans is celebrating our best quarter ever, and now we're celebrating some of the lowest refinancing rates ever. Rates are historically low. You may be able to reduce your rate and save money on your monthly mortgage payment right now. This is your chance. Pay off some credit card debt or put some money towards that new bathroom or kitchen you've always wanted. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.99%. APR 4.23%. That's right, 3.99%. APR 4.23%. While we can't predict what will happen in the future, we do know that rates have dropped, and now is the time to save money on your mortgage. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn how refinancing now may be the right mortgage solution for you. That's 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rates subject to change. Pay 2% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Spring is just around the corner, and now's a great time to get in the driver's seat of that new John Deere you've been dreaming of when you shop with your neighbors at SunSouth. Whether you're cutting, disking, planting, or harvesting, think SunSouth, where you'll find the quality John Deere equipment to meet your needs, affordably priced to save you time and money. Like the fast and efficient John Deere Z915E zero-turn mower as low as $109 a month. And if you need to tackle larger jobs, think SunSouth for the John Deere 3025E package, including tractor, trailer, loader, box blade, and rotary cutter for as low as $285 a month with 0% financing available. Come see how easy it is to own a John Deere when you visit SunSouth. For a full line of affordable John Deere equipment to get your outdoor jobs done faster and more efficiently, think SunSouth, for those that do.
Pricing plus taxes and fees. Financing with approved credit. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Expires March 7, 2020.
You're standing in the 10 items or less line behind the guy with 12 items and a lady writing a check. Then you hear the cashier say, "I need a price check on." You mutter to yourself, "Oh, geez." Next time, come to Polk's Drugs. It's easy, it's convenient, and your prescriptions are filled in minutes. Hey, stay in the car and come through the drive-thru. And more than likely, Polk's takes your insurance. Cut your wait time. Come to Polk's Drugs in Biloxi and Ocean Springs. Or you could stand in line. You'll pick the no waiting time. Polk's Drugs in Biloxi and Ocean Springs.
This is House Call for Health. There may be no greater medical mystery and no greater tragedy than sudden infant death syndrome. It used to be known as crib death. For no apparent reason, a presumably healthy sleeping baby dies. Medical experts don't have clear-cut answers to what causes sudden infant death, or SIDS, but now they have two risk factors: smoking and drinking during pregnancy beyond the first 3 months. A new study finds that babies whose mothers drank alcohol and smoked tobacco after the first trimester are at far greater risk of SIDS, 12 times greater. Previous studies showed a risk of smoking and drinking individually. This study says doing both drastically increases the danger. The research is sponsored by the National Institutes of Health, which is calling for greater publicity about the danger and improved screening at the very beginning of a pregnancy. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
The Mississippi Power Weather Center. Your weather now.
Mostly sunny this afternoon. High upper 60s to low 70s. Turning mostly cloudy tonight. The low 59. A 30% chance of rain tomorrow afternoon. 71 for the high. Chance of rain to 40% tomorrow night. The low 61. 90% chance of showers and thunderstorms on Wednesday with a high near 70. Visit MississippiPower.com/ways to save to learn about programs and resources that can help you save energy and money on your electric bill.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back. We've got Tim and Dean Holloman here talking about their dad, Boyce Holloman. He left an amazing legacy here in coastal Mississippi, and I call this Legends of the Coast. These are people who are no longer with us that give us an opportunity to look back on their life and see so many important and powerful lessons about what they did during their life here on this amazing earth and this amazing coast especially. So where we left it, he was a DA. And so what happened? Why did he decide to go into private practice?
Well, they made the DA's, it was a part-time position until 1970 or 71, and they made it a full-time position. Well, he had 5 kids, and at that time he couldn't afford to stay on full-time at the DA's office, so he went into private practice. And Albert Nicase ran for and became DA.
Wow. Okay, so at what point was he doing the Board of Supervisors almost immediately?
Yeah, he became board attorney almost immediately, and then he also was junior college attorney and the school board attorney, so he represented all 3 of them.
So he had a lot going on.
Yes. 5 kids he had to put us through Ole Miss too, or some of us through Ole Miss.
So criminal defense work became pretty rapidly his.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
He did criminal defense and some very big cases and very interesting. It would take 2 days to talk about, but he and Albert became big fighters in the courtroom.
They were warriors.
They were warriors, and Judge Rubel Griffin. I mean, some of the cases they tried a couple times because of going up on appeal, coming back. But it was World War III when they were in the courtroom because they were both booming, and Albert learned from the best, and so it was something to be seen. And it was, but Dad, he wasn't scared of anything, like as we've already said, and he would take on the best of defense cases. And
how long did that warrior relationship last? It was a long time.
Albert came out in 82-ish.
Yeah.
And then Kono, so that but then it became the federal courts, and then the battles became with U.S. attorneys and special prosecutors and the FBI and fighting the political cases that he represented defendants. And he was always in the middle of Senate pro temp or judge or city official. I mean, it was just constant cases where there were 30 boxes for me to carry around.
Yeah, and we had some cases where there were big cases that he did it for free because he didn't think it was right what was being done. And some big names on this coast were represented by Dad, and he never charged them because, 1, they couldn't afford it. Number 2, what was being done to them was wrong, and he knew it was wrong, and he fought and won.
Wow. So that made a tremendous impact on you guys, didn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, when we started practicing law, and I started in 1980, so I'm now in my 40th year. This is my 40th year anniversary. I just got a notice on it.
Ironically, it's the same year that he is inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Same weekend there's going to be the reunion. So
congratulations.
Great. But doesn't seem like it's been 40 years.
Yeah.
But Dad always had, as we started practicing law with him, you can't imagine how great that was. Not just because he was our father, but to learn from him was amazing. His ability in the courtroom, he never missed anything. And sometimes he would pick on something small that you would think is totally insignificant. And by the end of the trial, he had worked it into the defense and would win with that. Funniest thing about him is, even as a child, I remember this. We'd be in the courtroom because we used to go to the trials when we were kids. And Dad would turn and wink at you, and you knew something was fixing to happen. Then when we started practicing law with him, you'd be sitting beside him in the courtroom, and he'd turn, he'd wink at you, and you'd know something was fixing to happen. You didn't know what it was, and he would cause some big stir, and it was a lot of fun. It wasn't just learning, but it was just fun to be with him.
So it was these qualities in the courtroom that helped him begin to realize that there's something about performing.
Yeah, all performance, yes.
So when did he start acting?
Late
when he started practicing law.
Late 70s, though, he started the stage.
But then
mid-70s.
He really got into it later and started, well, probably after we started practicing law, then we were working and he had more time to act. And so he really got into it and did movies and
But it wasn't, I mean,
theater.
it wasn't just local theater. It was it was the real deal.
Yeah, he tried. I went out to Hawaii with him in 1980 where he did the Clarence Darrow show for the National District Attorneys Association.
Yeah.
Albert and Lois Indy case were there, and all great characters out there. But he did the show out there, and it was a great experience.
He did that in Washington, D.C. also. The one-man show Clarence Darrow did it in Washington, D.C. He did that all over the country.
Is that on tape somewhere?
It is.
We do have some tapes of it. It's a really great show.
I didn't see it on YouTube. It needs to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
So, so what were some of the movies that he got involved with?
I think the best movie he ever was in that I liked the most was Eudora Welty's Ponder Heart. That was really a good movie. He was in Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth.
Simple Twist of Faith, which was a Steve Martin movie, and I mean
that was a good movie.
So why did you like the Eudora Welty movie? Tell what was the?
It was just a good Southern movie about. He was a Southern gentleman in that case, and it's a cute movie. It's not a long movie. It's one of those movies you just enjoy.
Yeah.
And he had a long part in that one, I thought, and he was really. That was a good show. It had some good actors in it. I mean, he was in Heat of the Night with Carol O'Connor several times.
Many times. In fact, my mother-in-law just last week said she was walking through her living room down in Tampa. She's 84ish, and said she heard a voice and looked at the TV screen, and there he was.
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
That's incredible. He sort of settled into a judge role along the way, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he played it just masterfully.
He got blown up behind Sherman Muse House one time on the bayou in one movie. He sentenced that was Stone Cold. He got sentenced the bikers to prison, and he was getting in his fishing boat behind Herman's house, and they blew him up. Not really, obviously.
Yeah. So where did the love of bridge come along?
That was always.
He was always a card player. He played cards. He played spades, whatever they played at Perk and at Ole Miss. And I remember him telling the day Pearl Harbor occurred, he said they were playing cards at Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. He was already up there by then. Maybe it's Perk, because it's 41, I guess. And somebody came in and said Japanese just bombed Pearl Harbor. And he says, where in the world is Pearl Harbor? And nobody knew, nobody had heard of it by then. And then everybody knew. But anyway, he did love cards. And I tell you, we would sit down on a New Year's Day at his house and cook, and we'd get to be playing cards. And he'd walk through the room, and then later in the day, he'd say, let me play it. He'd sit down, and by the time he got through with us, we didn't have anything left. He was he could count cards.
Did he always have his cigar?
He chewed them after 1980. Before 1980, he smoked them, but he never smoked one after 1980. He just chewed
always chewed on it.
That's so interesting.
They used to tell stories about him putting a toothpick in it in the courtroom back when you could smoke in the courtroom and let the ash get real long, and everybody be watching the ash rather than listening to whatever the other side was doing.
I remember a metal building right off of the beach, somewhere around Oleander Avenue.
Yes, Bridge Club. Gulf Coast Bridge Club.
And so I asked someone once, we didn't talk about any of this, but I asked someone once, how do they afford the Bridge Club? And someone said, oh, Boy Solomon plays there. So apparently he was kind of a big benefactor of some sort.
He was a master bridge player. He was
nationally ranked.
Well, international, really. He and Omar Sharif played together, and
I saw a picture of them two together.
Yeah.
I wondered, was it Bridge that brought them together?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, they actually did a lease for a voting precinct too. They got paid by the county to use it as a voting precinct.
Oh, the Bridge Club.
Yes, the Bridge Club.
Or Center Stage.
That was part
yes.
of it.
And Center Stage they created too.
Center Stage, that's
not
right.
Dad, but they.
Right.
It was over. It used to be on Calhoun Road, and
Yeah.
the lights for the stage were in coffee cans, light bulbs.
Yeah.
That's what they started with. Did
So-
Cat on the Hot Tin Roof there.
So he helped them become
yes.
more what they are today. So
And Chuck White and
big
Choice
supporter.
Mead.
yeah, Shorty. I got Shorty on next week. Or actually, I think this week, actually.
I think if he'd gotten into acting earlier in life, he might have been a famous actor. I'm not sure.
He would have been a famous actor. He would have been a very
He loved
famous
acting. He really did.
So coming back to his private practice, and in this final segment, which is coming up here shortly, we'll talk a little bit more about his legacy and lessons learned, and looking back on this man and what kind of legacy he left here in coastal Mississippi. But he would defend these big cases sometimes for free, as you mentioned, Tim. But at the same time, he still had all these other things going on inside the practice. There was no case so small, no case too big that he would be involved in. What did you learn about that from him?
Well, I learned that he was such a giver, and I know that people, I started practicing in '82, and people would come in that office that wanted to see him, and they'd sit there all day long until he got there. He might come in. He'd work from his chair at home early, but he might come to his desk at 4 o'clock. And they'd be there at 7 o'clock, and he gave them his time when he could give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
But he never stopped. The man probably slept 3 hours a night. It was amazing.
He loved people. He loved helping people, and I think that's what we learned from him most.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about helping people. Practice of law is lawyers help people, and sometimes we get a bad name for it. But the truth of the matter is, you're there to help people.
Gaston Hughes talking about giving him that plaque with the door handle on it.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
But because he'd opened so many doors for so many people.
A lot of lawyers went through his office, and now big, good lawyers here on the coast.
Lots.
Were you going to add something to that?
Well, he took the words out of my mouth. I mean, he had a lot of great young lawyers that went through his office, became great lawyers.
There's a theme in some of the people that I've talked to that some of the most proud moments was mentoring others and bringing them along. And if we were to sit down and understand the number of leaders in coastal Mississippi that were mentored by just a few people, I mean, they set the coast on its course from a leadership perspective because they had these people early in our history that were willing to mentor them. It's incredible what I'm learning as a result of this conversation and this show's Coast View. We're going to be back after this message, but as I said, we're going to reflect just for a few minutes about the legacy, and then life goes on after he dies, but he left an incredible legacy. We're talking about Boyce Holloman. We'll be back after this break.
Are your drains draining slow? Did you know this could be the beginning of a bigger problem with your plumbing system? At Masterflow Plumbing, we keep your pipes flowing, serving the Gulf Coast commercial and residential markets. Masterflow Plumbing, from water to sewer lines, toilets to water heaters, or faucets to clogged drains. If it has a pipe and it quits flowing, Masterflow will keep it going. See a leak in your kitchen, bath, or yard? Call Masterflow Plumbing. We know leaks inside and out. Proudly serving the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Call 228-870-0471 or visit masterflowplumbing.net.
Well, New Year's resolutions are great, but we don't need one to keep having the largest selection of beer in Mississippi, along with the best selection of CBD, herbal products, and smoking accessories. Double Shop. Double Shop has been doing this since 2012 and perfecting it even more every year. Original home to the mix and match six-pack. Now, Double Shop has the best quality CBD and herbal products for feel-good quality of life, plus a great selection of wine, liquors, especially high-end bourbons, and party supplies that help celebrate life, so you don't have to stick to your New Year's resolutions. Double Shop will do it for you. And sign up for the free Double Shop loyalty program. Start collecting stars with your very first purchase. Enrollment is free and easy. Get signed up today. Double Shop, 50 yards north of exit 50 on the right-hand side. And like Double Shop on Facebook. So don't worry about sticking to your New Year's resolution. Double Shop will do it for you. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Have you made your New Year's resolution yet? Resolve to make 2020 a year to remember with a new lifestyle. At Arbor Properties, you'll discover features, amenities, and services that are only found at an Arbor Properties community. Whether you're looking to actively unwind in one of 5 fully equipped fitness studios, enjoy the free fitness classes, or reserve a spot with a personal trainer, Arbor Properties is the place to conquer your fitness goals. Arbor Properties apartment homes features granite countertops, custom cabinetry, luxury flooring, and upgraded fixtures. Arbor Properties' resolution is to ensure your living experience is nothing less than exceptional. Arbor Properties isn't just a place to live, it's a way of life. Let Arbor Properties help make 2020 your best year yet. Find your new home at Arborview d'Iberville, Arbor Landing on the River in Biloxi, Arbor Place, Biloxi, Arbor Village at Pass Road Gulfport, or Arbor Station in Long Beach. Like Arbor Properties on Facebook.
Hey, I'm the embarrassment emoji. The apology emoji, and I noticed you're using us a lot lately. Instead, use the new C2C People Pay from the Citizens Bank and make splitting the check at dinner, paying soccer fees, the babysitter, anyone as easy as sending a text. You get more happy emojis, and we get time alone with that cute meme.
Introducing C2C People Pay from the Citizens Bank. Pay your share, your family, your friends, the easy way. Member FDIC.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
A Florida football player who decided there were things and people more important than the game he was playing makes today's Dean's List. When Frank Calderon's team took the field in his high school football game, he made a detour towards the stands. It was Pensacola Catholic's last big game, but his thoughts were with his grandmother, Amparo. Amparo is battling cancer, and Frank is caring for her. Frank gave his grandmother flowers and a hug before saying, "I love you," in a video that's gone viral for obvious reasons. Family always comes first, he says. We've been close since I was born, and she's always been there for me. Pensacola Catholic won that night, finishing the season undefeated. Meanwhile, Frank is still helping Amparo win her battle. He says she's a strong woman, and she's beat it once, she can beat it again. Thank you, Frank, for reminding us of what's important. And Amparo, our prayers are with you as you continue your fight. Janice Dean, Fox News.
It's a great time to be on the coast, and we love talking about it. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
I've got Tim and Dean Holloman here talking about Boyce Holloman's legacy. It's been so much fun having this conversation. What an incredible character and legacy, Boyce Holloman. Tim, June 17th is an important date to you for 2 reasons. What are those dates?
It was the date I was born, number one. Number two, it was also the date that Dad was shot down over Saipan.
Wow.
Obviously a few years before I was born, but I wouldn't have been here if he hadn't have made it, obviously. So every birthday Dad used to say, and when I was younger it kind of confused me. He'd say, this is the day I was shot down, which I didn't think was very celebratory on my birthday, but he always equated that close to me, which is why I think he took me with him when we went to Saipan.
Hey, and on mine, I was born on November 29th, 1958, and on that day he was at the Egg Bowl instead of with me.
Did we win? Did Ole Miss
Wasn't there some good advice he gave you along the way?
Well, I was telling you on the break that one of the things he used to say, and I love to tell clients, and they get a big kick out of it. You got to be careful. You represent clients, you don't get in the mess with them. And one of Dad's favorite lines was, if somebody's going to go to jail, make sure it's the client. so
not yourself.
That's a good lesson for lawyers. Some lawyers hadn't followed that lesson, but he had a lot of humor along with the practice of law. So,
but he impacted people, and people knew him. You tell a story about when he was at Memorial Hospital. Tell about that.
Yeah, he had, in 1996 he had open heart surgery, and so you have to get up and walk after the surgery. And we're going down the hallway, and these two gentlemen were painting on a ladder, so they're up on a ladder, both of them. And as we walked by, they both got off the ladder and took their hats off and put it over their hearts. And so we passed by, and Dad turned and said, my greatest accomplishment in life was to be admired by men such as that. Meaning common people, that they really thought enough to get off that ladder and put their hats over their hearts for him. It really touched him, and he meant that was his greatest accomplishment.
Well, that at the end of the day, that might be one of the biggest legacies he left.
I think most people today remember Dad that way. Most people that call and come in and say, your dad did this, your dad did that.
You were mentioning a closing argument. What was that? Yeah.
We were trying a case for 2 months in Mobile. It got closing argument. He started out as closing argument. I'm going to imitate. When I was a little boy growing up in Wiggins, Mississippi, and the other side objected. We object to Mr. Holloman relating a personal story to the jury, and the judge sustained it. Dad turned back to the jury, and it got real quiet. And he says, once upon a time, there was a little boy growing up in Wiggins, Mississippi. Told the whole story. When the other side didn't object, the jury just burst out laughing. I mean, of course, laughing juries don't convict, so we got acquitted in that case. And I think it was that story that did it.
Wow.
But, he made the jury laugh, which was humor is a big part of life, and he used humor a lot in the courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we do that too. We learned that from him. There's a time to be serious, but there's also a time to kind of break the tension, so to speak.
It reminds me, one time back in 1989, 90, we were trying, I was carried a briefcase. I wasn't trying it. I was a lawyer, but I was helping him. But anyway, we were trying a case and been in it 6 weeks, and it was in February, and February 26th was his birthday. Well, we, real heated trial, and jurors were tired. Anyway, on that particular day, the jury on the lunch break sent a note to Judge Jackson, said that the jury would like to invite Mr. Holloman to the jury room for a birthday cake because it was juror Bob's birthday too. And I said, I don't think we can do that. I don't think the prosecution liked that note.
No, but that was a good sign. We got acquitted in that case
yeah,
too.
we did.
So Tim, there was a knock on the door when he had bladder cancer toward the end of his life before he went to MD Anderson.
Yeah.
Tell that story.
I think Dean was telling that one.
Well, it was a Saturday before he left for MD Anderson, didn't return, and we all gathered over at the house to watch the Ole Miss Auburn game, which we won that day. And everybody was celebrating. I mean, all the grandkids were doing the pile up in his bedroom on the floor, and he was in the chair, just terrible health and feeling bad. And I think he kind of felt like where he was heading. But anyway, the doorbell rang, and I think Annie, my stepmother, went and answered the door and came back and said, there's some lady at the door for you, boys. Well, he got up and slowly went to the front door, and several minutes later he comes back and somebody says, what was that about? And he said, well, it was a little old lady, I don't know, but she said she didn't have any money, she was down and out, had flat tire, and I gave her $40. And somebody said, why would you do that? He says, because she didn't have it and I did. And he sat back
she
down.
She needed it. That's what he said.
That's right.
What an incredible
that was him.
lesson right toward the end of his life. So he goes to MD Anderson, and we know the rest of the story now. So it's been a pleasure to visit with you guys, to look back. I knew it was going to be special, and when I watched the Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, what do you call that?
The interview.
It was just
Trailblazers of Mississippi.
Yeah. When I watched that, if you haven't seen it, just go to YouTube and do a YouTube search on Boyce Holloman. It will come up.
Great interview.
You need to watch it because just the storytelling, the crisp memory, names, the situations, and just the way he tells it is incredible.
He never forgot people's names.
Man, it was just an incredible guy. But it's been fun reflecting back. I've enjoyed our time together, and if you know anyone. I've got a couple of people that I'm planning a section like this over the next coming months that I think you're going to be very interested in, and it's a great way to kind of look back at people who had an impact.
Been very enjoyable. We appreciate you having us.
Great way to preserve history on the coast.
You bet.
Thank you.
You bet, guys. So we'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining us here at Coast View, and we'll see you in the morning.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.